Jackson Hayes wiped the sweat from his brow, squinting against the harsh sunlight that beat down on the makeshift battlefield of 1632. The clash of steel and the roar of cannon fire filled the air, blending with the cries of soldiers and the earthy scent of gunpowder. Standing amidst the chaos, Jackson felt every inch out of place. His attire, a mismatched ensemble of futuristic fabric and historical garb, rustled awkwardly as he moved, drawing curious and suspicious glances from both sides of the conflict. "Okay, Jackson, stay focused," he muttered to himself, clutching the device that allowed him to bend time. It was sleek and metallic, with blinking lights and a holographic interface that contrasted sharply with the primitive surroundings. This was his first mission, his first real attempt to alter history. The Temporal Reconstruction Agency, TRA, had briefed him thoroughly, but nothing could have prepared him for the sheer unpredictability of actually being there. He glanced around, searching for the cannon he was supposed to sabotage. According to the mission parameters, this cannon's misfire would set off a chain of events leading to a catastrophic war that would devastate civilizations for centuries to come. Jackson's task was clear: prevent the misfire, save countless lives, and steer history back onto a stable path. Simple in theory, immensely complicated in execution. As he tiptoed towards the cannon, Jackson couldn't help but notice the absurdity of his situation. Here he was, a time traveler from the future, dressed like a cross between a space explorer and a medieval mercenary, trying to sneak around a 17th-century battlefield. If someone had seen him, they might have thought he was either a madman or a sorcerer. Reaching the cannon, Jackson crouched down, examining the mechanism. It was a heavy, iron beast, primed to launch a devastating shot. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small toolkit, another piece of future tech disguised to blend in with the era. Carefully, he began to dismantle the cannon's firing mechanism, hoping to disable it without drawing attention. Just as he was about to remove the final component, a shout erupted from behind him. "What sorcery is this?" a soldier demanded, pointing his musket in Jackson's direction. Panic surged through him. He had to act fast. In a desperate bid to escape, Jackson threw the toolkit at the cannon, attempting to create a diversion. Instead of subtly disabling the weapon, he inadvertently caused a chain reaction. The cannon swung violently, tipping over and triggering a massive explosion that sent shockwaves through the battlefield. Smoke and flames enveloped the area, and the screams of soldiers were drowned out by the chaos he had unleashed. Jackson shielded his face, feeling the intense heat and hearing the collapse of both armies. As the dust settled, he stood amidst the wreckage, the gravity of his failure sinking in. The very war he had come to prevent was now even more catastrophic, with far greater loss of life than before. I never expected my first big mission to end with a fireball. Really? This was not in the manual, Jackson groaned, pulling out his earpiece. The voice of his mentor, Samantha, crackled through the device. "Jackson, did you remember the timeline integrity protocols?" Samantha's tone was stern, tinged with frustration. Jackson sighed, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "I thought I was fixing the timeline. The cannon was supposed to miss. Instead, I created a supernova." There was a brief pause before Samantha responded. "We'll debrief you as soon as you return. Try to stay calm." As he activated the temporal device, Jackson felt the familiar tingling sensation of time shifting around him. In an instant, he was back in the sleek, high-tech command center of the TRA, the stark contrast of the future world almost blinding after the grim reality of the past. Samantha was waiting for him, her expression unreadable. "Jackson, that was a significant deviation. The war was supposed to escalate, not end abruptly with an explosion." Jackson leaned against a console, frustration bubbling to the surface. "So, my intervention wasn't just useless, it made things worse. How is that even possible?" Samantha approached him, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Every intervention creates ripples. Sometimes those ripples lead to unintended consequences. That's why we have multiple timeline simulations to predict outcomes. Unfortunately, not all variables are accounted for. But the mission was clear. Prevent the war by sabotaging that cannon, Jackson insisted, his voice tinged with disbelief, and you did sabotage it, albeit in an unexpected manner. However, the resulting explosion accelerated the conflict in a way we didn't foresee, Samantha explained. We need to analyze the data and determine our next steps. Jackson couldn't shake the feeling of being a failure. His first mission had not only failed to prevent disaster but had actively contributed to it. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him, making it hard to breathe. Days passed as the TRA delved into the intricacies of the altered timeline. Jackson watched as simulations played out on holographic screens, each one depicting a different version of history. Some were minor tweaks, others drastic changes with unforeseeable outcomes. The TRA's mission was to ensure that humanity stayed on a path that avoided catastrophic conflicts and disasters, preserving the future. One evening, after another long day of debriefings and data analysis, Samantha summoned Jackson to her office. He entered, taking a seat across from her desk, the holographic displays casting a soft glow in the dimly lit room. Jackson, we need to talk about your role in the timeline, Samantha began, her tone serious. He leaned forward, bracing himself. What about it? I've already messed up my first mission. Samantha shook her head. It's not that simple. Your interventions, despite appearing as failures, have been factored into our models. Each alteration, each unintended consequence, is part of a larger pattern we're observing. Jackson frowned, confusion clouding his features. What are you saying? That my failures are part of the plan? Yes. Every time you intervene, the timeline adjusts in ways we can't fully predict, but ultimately, these adjustments help us understand how to guide humanity away from disaster. Your role is more crucial than you realize. But it felt like I was just making things worse, he protested. I was trying to save lives, not cause more deaths. Samantha leaned back in her chair, her gaze thoughtful. Sometimes, the path to preventing disaster isn't linear. Chaos theory tells us that small changes can have unpredictable effects. Your actions may have prevented certain outcomes, even if they inadvertently led to others. Jackson rubbed his temples, trying to process her words. So, what now? Do I keep trying to fix things, knowing that I might just mess them up more? Samantha smiled gently. Not exactly. We're developing new protocols to better predict the outcomes of your interventions. Your role as a chaos agent is to explore these variables, to gather data that we can use to refine our understanding of the timeline's intricacies. He sat back, a mix of relief and frustration washing over him. So, I'm not just a pawn. I'm contributing to the bigger picture. Exactly, she affirmed. Your experiences, both successes and failures, are invaluable. They help us create a more accurate model of how time and causality interact. Without you, our understanding would be incomplete. Jackson took a deep breath, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. All right. I guess I can get used to that. But what's the next mission? Samantha's eyes sparkled with a mix of determination and optimism. We have another critical point in history that needs intervention. This time, it's set just before the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. Preventing that attack could save thousands of lives and potentially alter the course of World War II for the better. Jackson's heart sank at the mention of Pearl Harbor. It was a pivotal moment in history, one that shaped the modern world in countless ways. The idea of tampering with such a significant event was daunting. 1941, he mused. That's a tough one. So much is at stake. Samantha nodded. I understand your concerns, but we've analyzed the potential outcomes extensively. Your intervention could prevent the escalation of the war, reduce global casualties, and mitigate the long-term technological arms races that could lead to future conflicts. Jackson considered her words. The weight of history pressed down on him, the responsibility of altering such a monumental event heavy on his shoulders. But the TRA's confidence in him provided a measure of reassurance. "All right. I'll do it," he said, determination settling into his voice. "I'll go back and stop the attack." Samantha's smile was both encouraging and proud. "Good. We'll provide you with all the necessary information and support. Remember, subtlety is key. The less noticeable your interference, the fewer unintended consequences there will be." With a final nod, Jackson prepared himself for the mission. He spent hours reviewing the historical data, studying the political climate of the time, and strategizing his approach. The attack on Pearl Harbor was not just a military strike, it was a catalyst for the United States' entry into World War II, a turning point that had reshaped global alliances and power structures. As the day of departure arrived, Jackson stood in the TRA's temporal chamber, the air humming with energy. Samantha approached him, her presence calming and steadfast. "Remember, Jackson," she said softly, "your actions are part of a larger plan. Trust in the process, and trust in yourself." He nodded, feeling a surge of resolve. "I won't let you down." With that, the temporal device activated, enveloping him in a brilliant light. The world around him blurred and shifted, the familiar surroundings of the TRA fading away as he was thrust into the past. When the light dimmed, Jackson found himself standing on the sandy shores of Pearl Harbor. The sky was clear, the ocean calm, and the air carried the distant hum of naval activity. Sailors moved about, preparing for the day's duties, unaware of the impending storm that was about to descend upon them. He took a moment to orient himself, the gravity of his mission settling in. Preventing the attack required careful planning and execution. One wrong move, and he could trigger a different catastrophe. He needed to be strategic, to blend in seamlessly with the environment. Jackson approached the USS Arizona, the epicenter of the planned attack. The ship was bustling with activity, sailors loading ammunition and preparing the vessel for potential conflict. He observed the routines, noting the key personnel and the points of vulnerability in their defenses. Over the next few days, Jackson meticulously carried out his plan. He managed to discreetly warn a high-ranking officer about the impending attack, ensuring that the information would be taken seriously without causing panic or suspicion. He sabotaged key equipment, ensuring that the weapon systems were rendered ineffective, all while maintaining his cover as a naval technician from the future. Despite his careful planning, unforeseen complications arose. A sudden storm disrupted his operations, forcing him to adapt on the fly. In the chaos, he had to make split-second decisions, some of which deviated from his original plan. Each alteration rippled through the timeline, subtly shifting events in ways he couldn't fully predict. On the final day of his mission, Jackson felt a mixture of anxiety and hope. He had done everything in his power to prevent the attack, but the true outcome was still uncertain. As the sun set over Pearl Harbor, casting a golden hue across the water, he activated the temporal device, preparing to return to the future. The familiar sensation of time shifting enveloped him, and in an instant, he was back in the TRA's command center. Samantha was waiting for him, her expression unreadable. "How did it go?" she asked, her voice betraying a hint of anticipation. Jackson took a deep breath, feeling a cautious optimism. "I think it worked. The attack was prevented. There was a lot of confusion, but ultimately, they decided not to proceed." Samantha nodded, a satisfied smile gracing her lips. "Excellent work, Jackson. Let's see how the timeline has adjusted." They moved to the debriefing area, where holographic displays showcased the updated timeline. Jackson watched as historical events shifted, the ripple effects of his mission unfolding before his eyes. Without the attack on Pearl Harbor, the United States didn't enter World War II in the same way, Samantha explained. The war dynamics shifted, leading to earlier peace negotiations and a more collaborative post-war environment. Technological advancements progressed at a steadier pace, reducing the arms race that had previously driven global tensions. Jackson felt a sense of accomplishment, but it was short-lived. As the data continued to stream in, new complexities emerged. The altered timeline had created unforeseen consequences, political alliances had shifted in unexpected ways, and economic structures had changed, leading to new challenges and conflicts that weren't anticipated. "This is different," he remarked, eyes scanning the rapidly changing projections. "I thought preventing Pearl Harbor would stabilize things, but it's created a whole new set of problems." Samantha's expression remained calm. "That's the nature of time. Every action, no matter how well-intentioned, has far-reaching effects. Our goal is to guide these changes to ensure a better future, even if it means navigating through unexpected turmoil." Jackson nodded slowly, the weight of his responsibilities settling back onto his shoulders. "So, what's next? Do I go back and try to fix these new issues?" "For now, we need to monitor the timeline and assess the new variables," Samantha replied. "We may need to send you back again if necessary, but for now, your mission is complete." Relieved, Jackson allowed himself a moment to relax. His efforts had made a difference, but the complexities of time travel were becoming increasingly apparent. Each mission was a delicate balance, a dance with destiny where every step could alter the course of history in ways that were both unpredictable and profound. Days turned into weeks as Jackson continued his work with the TRA, analyzing the evolving timeline and preparing for potential new missions. The agency's high-tech facilities were a stark contrast to the historical periods he visited, a blend of advanced technology and sleek design that made him feel both powerful and confined. One evening, as he reviewed the latest data, a nagging sense of unease settled over him. Despite the TRA's assurances, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The changes he had implemented were intended to stabilize the timeline, yet new disturbances continued to emerge, each one more complex than the last. That he decided to bring his concerns to Samantha, seeking clarity and reassurance. When he approached her office, he found her engrossed in a holographic projection of the timeline, her fingers deftly manipulating the data. "Samantha, can we talk?" he asked, his voice tinged with concern. She looked up, her expression open and attentive. "Of course, Jackson. What's on your mind?" He took a deep breath, summoning the courage to voice his worries. "I'm starting to feel like we're not in control of the timeline anymore. Every mission we undertake creates more variables than we can manage. It's like we're trying to steer a ship with no map, only to end up getting lost in a sea of possibilities." Samantha regarded him thoughtfully, her eyes reflecting the holographic data before her. "I understand your frustration. Time is inherently chaotic, and our interventions, while necessary, do introduce new elements that we have to account for. It's a constant battle between order and chaos. But how do we know we're making things better? Or not making things worse?" Jackson pressed. "Every time we intervene, there's a chance we're introducing new problems we can't predict or solve." Samantha leaned back, her expression contemplative. "That's the challenge of our work. We can't predict every outcome, but we can make informed decisions based on the data we have. It's about minimizing risks and maximizing the potential for a stable future. Sometimes, that means accepting that some variables are beyond our control." Jackson sighed, feeling the weight of her words. "I just worry that our attempts to fix things are only creating more chaos, pushing the timeline further away from the optimal path we're trying to achieve." She reached out, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Jackson, your efforts have already made a significant impact. Preventing the escalation of World War II, even if it introduced new challenges, was a necessary step towards a better future. We can't achieve perfection with every mission, but we can strive for improvement." He nodded slowly, appreciating her perspective but still grappling with his doubts. "I just wish there was a way to predict the long-term effects of our interventions more accurately." Samantha smiled softly. "That's why we continue to refine our models and expand our understanding of temporal mechanics. The more data we gather, the better we can predict and guide the timeline. Your role is crucial in this process, Jackson. Every mission, every intervention, contributes to our knowledge and helps us move closer to our goal." Feeling a bit more at ease, Jackson allowed himself to relax. "All right. I trust in the process, and I'll keep doing my best to make a positive impact." "Good," Samantha replied, her tone encouraging. "Your dedication and adaptability are what make you an invaluable asset to the TRA. We're all in this together, working towards a future where humanity can thrive without the shadow of catastrophic conflicts." As the weeks turned into months, Jackson continued to undertake missions that spanned various pivotal moments in history. Each mission brought its own set of challenges and revelations, further deepening his understanding of the intricate web of time. He began to see patterns emerge, the subtle threads that connected seemingly disparate events into a coherent tapestry. One particular mission stood out among the rest. The TRA had identified a critical point in the late 19th century, where a series of economic policies were leading to widespread poverty and social unrest. Jackson was tasked with influencing key political figures to implement more equitable policies, hoping to create a more stable and prosperous society. He traveled to the bustling streets of London in 1887, immersing himself in the vibrant culture and political climate of the era. The mission required delicate maneuvering, building relationships with influential leaders, and subtly guiding their decisions without drawing attention to himself. Over the course of several weeks, Jackson worked tirelessly, attending political gatherings, offering insights, and gently steering discussions towards more progressive policies. His efforts bore fruit as key figures began to advocate for reforms that addressed economic disparities and social injustices. Returning to the present, Jackson was pleased to see the positive changes reflected in the updated timeline. The late 19th century had become a period of significant social and economic progress, laying the foundation for a more equitable and stable society in the years to come. However, not all missions were met with such clear-cut success. Some missions resulted in ambiguous outcomes, where the benefits were outweighed by unforeseen complications. Each time, Jackson found himself navigating the delicate balance between altering the past and preserving the future, striving to make choices that would lead to the most favorable outcomes for humanity. Amidst his missions, Jackson began to notice something peculiar. Despite the TRA's assurances of a grand design, certain patterns in the timeline seemed too consistent, too controlled. It was as if someone, or something, was guiding events towards a predetermined conclusion, regardless of his interventions. One evening, after a particularly taxing mission, Jackson confronted Samantha about his suspicions. They sat in the quiet debriefing room, the hum of the TRA's operations a distant backdrop to their conversation. "Samantha, I've been noticing something strange about the timeline," Jackson began, his voice cautious. "No matter what I do, there's a sense that everything is still leading towards a specific outcome. It's like the future is being guided, not just by our interventions, but by something else entirely." Samantha regarded him thoughtfully, her expression unreadable. "Go on." He took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. "It's as if the timeline is being carefully manipulated to reach a predetermined conclusion, and our interventions are just part of that design. Every mission, every change, it feels like it's all part of a larger plan that we're not fully aware of." Samantha leaned back, her eyes reflecting a mixture of surprise and contemplation. "You're suggesting that the TRA is part of this grand design? That we're not just reacting to events, but actively shaping them towards a specific future?" Jackson nodded. "Exactly. It's like we're players in a game where the rules are already set, and our actions are just moving the pieces according to a script we don't fully understand." Samantha was silent for a moment, her gaze distant. "It's an intriguing theory, Jackson. The idea that the future could be preordained in such a meticulous manner. However, our primary objective has always been to prevent catastrophic events and guide humanity towards a stable and prosperous future. If there is a grand design at play, it could be that our efforts are aligned with it, rather than working against it. But what if it's not aligned? What if the TRA is inadvertently enforcing a timeline that's not actually in the best interest of humanity?" Jackson pressed. "How do we know our actions aren't just ensuring that a specific, potentially flawed future comes to pass?" Samantha sighed, the weight of his concerns evident in her demeanor. We don't have all the answers, Jackson. Time is a complex and multifaceted entity, and our understanding is still evolving. It's possible that there are forces or factors beyond our comprehension influencing the timeline. Our mission is to do the best we can with the information and resources available to us. Jackson felt a chill run down his spine, the possibility that their actions were part of a larger, possibly manipulative plan unsettling him. What if someone is controlling the timeline for their own purposes? What if the TRA is just a tool in their hands, ensuring that the future unfolds exactly as they want it to? Samantha met his gaze steadily. If that were the case, we'd need to uncover the truth and reassess our mission accordingly. But until we have concrete evidence, it's important to focus on our primary objective, guiding the timeline towards a better future for humanity. He nodded slowly, though doubt still lingered in his mind. I just can't shake the feeling that something bigger is at play here. That our interventions are not just about preventing disasters, but about steering the future towards a specific end. Samantha reached out, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Your observations are valuable, Jackson. We need to remain vigilant and continue to analyze the timeline for any irregularities or patterns that don't align with our objectives. If there is a hidden agenda at work, it's our duty to uncover it and ensure that our actions remain true to our mission. As the weeks turned into months, Jackson's suspicions only deepened. He couldn't ignore the subtle consistencies that seemed to weave through the timeline, the recurring themes and events that persisted despite his efforts to alter them. It was as if the future was a fixed path, one that could bend and sway but ultimately remained unchanging. One day, while reviewing data from a recent mission, Jackson stumbled upon a series of encrypted files within the TRA's database. His curiosity piqued, he began to investigate, tracing the origins of the files and uncovering a hidden network of information that was never meant to be accessed by agents like him. As he delved deeper, he discovered evidence of clandestine operations and covert manipulations that extended far beyond the TRA's public mission. It became clear that there were factions within the agency working towards their own agendas, using time travel not just to prevent disasters, but to shape the timeline according to their own desires. Feeling a mixture of anger and betrayal, Jackson knew he had to confront Samantha with his findings. He arranged a private meeting, the gravity of the situation weighing heavily on him. Samantha, I need to show you something, he said, holding up a data pad with the encrypted files displayed on the screen. She took the pad, her expression shifting from calm to guarded as she scrolled through the information. This isn't part of the official records, she murmured, her eyes narrowing as she realized the implications. Jackson's heart pounded. What is it? Are we being manipulated from within? Samantha looked up, her gaze piercing. It appears there are elements within the TRA that are operating outside of our primary mission. These files suggest unauthorized interventions and manipulations aimed at directing the timeline towards specific outcomes. He felt a surge of frustration and fear. Why would they do that? What are their goals? Samantha shook her head, her expression conflicted. I can't say for certain. It seems they have their own vision of the future, one that may not align with our understanding of what's best for humanity. This changes everything we thought we knew about our mission. Jackson took a deep breath, trying to process the enormity of the revelation. What do we do now? How do we stop them from steering the timeline for their own purposes? Samantha met his gaze, determination evident in her eyes. We need to expose these rogue elements and prevent them from further manipulating the timeline. It won't be easy, but it's our responsibility to ensure that our actions are truly in the best interest of humanity. As they delved deeper into the conspiracy within the TRA, Jackson and Samantha uncovered a web of deceit and power struggles that threatened to unravel the very fabric of time. They discovered that the rogue factions had been manipulating key historical events to create a future where they held ultimate control, ensuring that the timeline followed a path that benefited their own interests. Determined to stop them, Jackson and Samantha devised a plan to expose the conspirators and restore the integrity of the timeline. They had to navigate a labyrinth of secrets, facing opposition from within the agency and the challenges of altering events without drawing unwanted attention. Their mission took them across different eras, from the Industrial Revolution to the dawn of the digital age, each mission a delicate balance of subterfuge and strategy. They worked tirelessly, uncovering hidden agendas and thwarting the conspirators' attempts to steer history towards their desired outcomes. Throughout their journey, Jackson grappled with the philosophical implications of their actions. The battle between free will and destiny became ever more pronounced as he realized that every intervention was a step towards either preserving the natural flow of time or imposing an artificial order upon it. In one particularly harrowing mission, they traveled to the early 20th century, where a rogue faction was attempting to manipulate technological advancements to create a society under their absolute control. Jackson and Samantha had to infiltrate key institutions, subtly influencing innovators and leaders to prevent the conspirators from gaining a foothold. The tension was palpable as they worked under the radar, each moment fraught with the risk of exposure. The slightest misstep could result in catastrophic changes to the timeline, undoing all their efforts and plunging the future into uncertainty. As they navigated the complexities of each mission, Jackson began to understand the depth of the TRA's mission and the true extent of the conspirators' influence. It was a relentless struggle, a battle fought across the corridors of time, where every decision carried immense weight. Finally, after months of relentless effort, they confronted the leader of the rogue faction, a high-ranking official within the TRA who had been manipulating events for decades to shape a future that served their own ambitions. The confrontation was intense, a clash of ideologies and wills that transcended the boundaries of time itself. In the end, Jackson and Samantha prevailed, dismantling the conspirators' plans and restoring the natural flow of the timeline. The future was safeguarded, free from the artificial constraints imposed by those who sought to control it for their own ends. Exhausted but triumphant, Jackson stood with Samantha in the TRA's command center, watching as the timeline stabilized and the ripple effects of their mission settled into a more harmonious pattern. "We did it," he said, a sense of relief washing over him. "We actually did it." Samantha nodded, a proud smile on her face. "Yes, we did. The timeline is back on track, and humanity has a better chance at a stable and prosperous future because of our efforts." Jackson felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that their struggles had not been in vain. The balance between free will and destiny had been preserved, and the future was once again a realm of endless possibilities, shaped by the actions and choices of humanity itself. As he reflected on his journey, Jackson realized that his role as a time traveler was not just about preventing disasters or steering history. It was about understanding the intricate dance between fate and free will, and embracing the responsibility that came with the power to influence time. With the conspiracy within the TRA exposed and the timeline secured, Jackson felt a newfound sense of purpose. The future was no longer a lost cause, but a canvas awaiting the strokes of human ingenuity and resilience. And he was ready to continue his mission, ensuring that the tapestry of time remained vibrant, dynamic, and full of hope for generations to come. Jackson Hayes stood beside Samantha in the TRA's command center, the hum of advanced technology surrounding them. The timeline had stabilized, the immediate threat of the rogue faction dismantled, and the conspirators exposed. Yet, a lingering sense of unease remained. The fight against the hidden forces within the TRA had only deepened his understanding of time's fragile balance and the immense responsibility resting on his shoulders. "We did it," Jackson repeated, his voice a mixture of relief and lingering tension. "But it feels like we're just scratching the surface." Samantha nodded, her eyes reflecting both exhaustion and determination. "Time is a vast ocean, Jackson. We've navigated through some of its storms, but there are always new currents to explore and challenges to face." Jackson glanced around the room, observing the array of holographic displays tracking the timeline's shifts and the ongoing missions. Each screen represented a thread in the intricate web of history, some bright with stability, others flickering with uncertainty. It was a mesmerizing yet daunting sight, a constant reminder of the delicate interplay between free will and destiny. "Do you ever wonder," Jackson began, hesitating as he chose his words carefully, if there's a point where we can't intervene anymore? Like, if the timeline becomes too complex or resistant to change? Samantha considered his question thoughtfully before responding. There are certainly moments where intervention is more about guidance than control. Our goal isn't to dictate every outcome but to ensure that humanity has the best chance to thrive. Sometimes that means stepping back and allowing events to unfold organically, as long as they don't lead to catastrophic outcomes. Jackson sighed, feeling the weight of her words. The TRA's mission was noble, but the ethical implications were profound. Every decision they made rippled through time, affecting countless lives in ways they could scarcely predict. The balance between preserving history and shaping the future was a tightrope walk, fraught with moral dilemmas and unforeseen consequences. As he pondered these thoughts, the temporal device around his wrist emitted a soft beep, signaling a new mission assignment. He glanced at the display, seeing the familiar symbol of the TRA's emblem. Another pivotal moment in history awaited his intervention. Another mission? Samantha asked, noticing his glance. Jackson nodded, taking a deep breath. Looks like it. What's the target this time? She reviewed the data on her console before responding. We need to address the Great Depression, not just economically, but socially. The widespread poverty and despair have long-term effects on societal structures and global stability. If we can mitigate some of the harsher impacts, it could lead to a more resilient and equitable world. Jackson raised an eyebrow. Mitigate the Great Depression? That's ambitious. How do we approach something on that scale without causing more disruptions? Samantha smiled, appreciating his cautious optimism. It requires a multifaceted strategy. We'll need to support key economic policies, influence influential figures to promote social welfare programs, and perhaps even provide subtle technological advancements to stimulate recovery. It's a delicate balance, but the potential benefits are immense. He felt a surge of determination. Each mission was a chance to make a meaningful difference, to steer humanity towards a better future. The challenges were immense, but so was the potential for positive change. All right, Jackson said, steeling himself for the task ahead. Let's get started. The preparation for the mission was meticulous. The TRA provided him with historical data, economic analyses, and profiles of key individuals who could influence the course of events. Jackson spent days immersing himself in the era, understanding the socio-economic dynamics and identifying the critical points where intervention could yield the most significant impact. When the time came, he activated the temporal device, the familiar sensation of time shifting enveloping him once more. The world around him blurred and transformed, and he found himself standing in the midst of 1930s America. The streets were bustling with activity, yet an undercurrent of anxiety and uncertainty permeated the air. The Great Depression had taken its toll, leaving communities grappling with unemployment, poverty, and despair. Jackson knew that subtlety was paramount. Overt interventions could cause panic or attract unwanted attention, disrupting the very fabric of history he aimed to preserve. He donned period-appropriate attire, blending in seamlessly with the crowd as he began his mission. His first objective was to support key economic policies that could alleviate some of the immediate hardships faced by the population. He attended public forums, discreetly offering insights to policymakers, encouraging the implementation of social welfare programs and job creation initiatives. His futuristic knowledge allowed him to suggest innovative solutions, ones that could jumpstart economic recovery without appearing out of place. One evening, Jackson found himself in a crowded community hall, listening to a local leader discuss the challenges facing their town. The desperation in the room was palpable, the weight of unemployment and poverty heavy on everyone's shoulders. We need something, anything, to lift us out of this despair, the leader implored, her voice wavering with emotion. Jackson seized the moment, stepping forward with a calm and authoritative demeanor. I understand the struggles you're facing. Have you considered implementing vocational training programs alongside job creation efforts? By equipping the workforce with diverse skills, you can enhance productivity and adaptability, making the local economy more resilient. The room fell silent, all eyes on him. The leader regarded him thoughtfully before responding. That's an interesting suggestion. We've been focusing primarily on direct employment initiatives, but perhaps integrating vocational training could provide a more sustainable solution. Jackson nodded, satisfied with the subtle yet impactful contribution. It could also help in fostering a sense of community and purpose, which is crucial during these challenging times. As the meeting concluded, the leader approached him with gratitude in her eyes. Thank you for your insights. This could be just what we need to move forward. Jackson smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment. Every small change he facilitated could have a ripple effect, contributing to a more stable and prosperous future. Yet, he remained vigilant, aware of the fine line he walked between guidance and interference. Over the following weeks, Jackson continued his efforts, working behind the scenes to support policies that promoted economic recovery and social welfare. He collaborated with local leaders, offering strategic advice and innovative ideas that aligned with the TRA's mission. His actions began to bear fruit, with communities showing signs of resilience and optimism returning to the populace. However, not all interactions were met with immediate success. Some leaders were resistant to change, entrenched in their ways and skeptical of Jackson's suggestions. In these instances, he had to employ patience and persistence, gradually building trust and demonstrating the tangible benefits of his proposed initiatives. One particularly challenging encounter occurred during a meeting with a prominent industrialist who was wary of the proposed social welfare programs. The industrialist feared that increased government intervention could stifle business growth and innovation, jeopardizing long-term economic stability. Jackson approached the situation with empathy and understanding. "I understand your concerns," he began, addressing the industrialist directly. "However, by investing in social welfare and job training, we're not only supporting those in need but also creating a more skilled and adaptable workforce. This can lead to increased productivity and innovation, ultimately benefiting your business and the economy as a whole." The industrialist leaned back, contemplating his words. "It's a compelling argument. I've always believed in the potential of this town, but I'm hesitant to make significant changes without seeing immediate results." Jackson offered a reassuring smile. "Change takes time, but the long-term benefits are undeniable. By fostering a more inclusive and supportive environment, we're laying the groundwork for sustained growth and prosperity." Gradually, the industrialist began to warm to the idea, agreeing to implement pilot programs that combine job creation with vocational training. The initiative proved successful, garnering support from other business leaders and setting a positive precedent for the community. As Jackson continued his mission, he couldn't help but reflect on the profound impact that seemingly small actions could have on the course of history. The Great Depression was a pivotal moment, one that shaped the socio-economic landscape for decades to come. By influencing key policies and supporting community leaders, he was helping to create a ripple effect that would extend far beyond the immediate challenges of the era. Yet, with each success came new complexities. The altered timeline introduced unforeseen variables, requiring Jackson to adapt and respond to the evolving dynamics. He had to navigate the delicate balance between providing guidance and allowing events to unfold naturally, ensuring that his interventions were both effective and harmonious with the broader historical context. One evening, after a particularly productive day of meetings and strategy sessions, Jackson found himself walking through a bustling city park. The sun was setting, casting a warm golden glow over the landscape, and the air was filled with the sounds of children playing and people enjoying the evening. As he strolled along the path, he encountered a young woman sitting alone on a bench, her face etched with worry. She was hunched over a notebook, scribbling furiously as if trying to capture her thoughts and fears. Jackson approached her cautiously, sensing an opportunity to offer support. "Excuse me," he began softly, not wanting to startle her. "Is everything all right?" The woman looked up, her eyes meeting his with a mixture of surprise and relief. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you there." Jackson offered a reassuring smile. "No need to apologize. I just wanted to check if you're okay. You seem a bit troubled." She sighed, closing her notebook and gazing into the distance. It's just, everything feels so uncertain. The economy is struggling, and it's hard to see a way out of this darkness. Jackson nodded empathetically, taking a seat beside her on the bench. I understand how you feel. It's a tough time for many. But sometimes, small steps can lead to significant changes. Have you considered seeking out community support or engaging in local initiatives to help those in need? The woman looked at him thoughtfully, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. I've thought about it, but I'm not sure where to start. It all feels so overwhelming. Jackson placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. Starting small can make a big difference. Maybe volunteer at a local shelter or join a community group focused on economic recovery. It's about taking that first step and building momentum from there. She smiled gratefully, her demeanor lightening. Thank you. I think I needed to hear that. It's easy to feel powerless, but maybe there are ways I can contribute, even in small ways. Jackson felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that his words had provided her with a spark of hope. Absolutely. Every little bit helps, and together, we can create a stronger, more resilient community. As he watched her walk away, Jackson realized that his mission wasn't just about influencing policies or guiding leaders. It was also about inspiring individuals, empowering them to take action and make a difference in their own lives and communities. The true strength of a society lay in the collective efforts of its people, and fostering that sense of agency was crucial for long-term stability and prosperity. Days turned into weeks, and Jackson's efforts continued to bear fruit. Communities began to show signs of recovery, with new social programs in place and a renewed sense of optimism among the populace. The economic landscape was gradually shifting, moving away from despair towards a more hopeful and sustainable future. However, as the timeline stabilized, Jackson became increasingly aware of the deeper complexities underlying his mission. The Great Depression was not just an economic crisis, it was a reflection of broader societal issues, inequality, lack of access to education, and systemic injustices that had long been entrenched in the fabric of society. Addressing these underlying issues required a more comprehensive approach, one that went beyond immediate economic relief and focused on long-term structural changes. Jackson knew that to create a truly resilient and equitable society, he had to address the root causes of the crisis, fostering a culture of inclusivity, innovation, and social responsibility. One morning, as he reviewed the latest data and assessments, Samantha entered the command center, her expression serious. Jackson, we need to discuss the next phase of your mission. The Great Depression is showing signs of improvement, but there are still significant underlying issues that need to be addressed. Jackson looked up, curiosity piqued. What kind of issues are we talking about? Samantha gestured to the holographic displays, highlighting areas of persistent inequality and social unrest. While the immediate economic indicators are improving, there are still deep-seated problems that could undermine the progress we've made. Issues like educational disparities, inadequate healthcare, and systemic discrimination are still prevalent. If left unchecked, they could lead to new forms of instability and conflict. Jackson nodded thoughtfully. I see. So, we need to implement more comprehensive reforms, targeting these structural issues to ensure long-term stability and prosperity. Exactly, Samantha affirmed. We need to take a more holistic approach, integrating economic recovery with social and cultural reforms. This will require a coordinated effort, engaging with a broader range of stakeholders and fostering a culture of innovation and inclusivity. Jackson felt a renewed sense of purpose. Addressing these complex, interwoven issues was a daunting task, but it was essential for creating a truly resilient society. He began to formulate a comprehensive strategy, one that would tackle the multifaceted challenges head-on, fostering systemic changes that would lay the foundation for a brighter future. His first step was to focus on education. Recognizing that access to quality education was a key driver of social mobility and economic prosperity, Jackson worked with local leaders and educators to implement comprehensive educational reforms. He advocated for increased funding for schools, the development of vocational training programs, and the integration of innovative teaching methods that emphasized critical thinking and problem-solving skills. Additionally, Jackson recognized the importance of healthcare in building a resilient society. He collaborated with healthcare professionals and policymakers to improve access to medical services, particularly in underserved communities. By addressing healthcare disparities, he aimed to ensure that all individuals had the opportunity to lead healthy, productive lives, free from the burden of preventable illnesses and medical expenses. Systemic discrimination was another critical issue that Jackson sought to address. He engaged with community leaders and activists to promote policies that fostered inclusivity and equality, working to dismantle the barriers that marginalized groups faced. By advocating for fair treatment and equal opportunities, he aimed to create a society where everyone had the chance to succeed, regardless of their background or circumstances. Throughout this process, Jackson encountered numerous challenges. Implementing systemic reforms required navigating complex political landscapes, overcoming resistance from entrenched interests, and addressing the deeply ingrained prejudices that had persisted for generations. However, his unwavering commitment and strategic approach allowed him to make meaningful progress, one step at a time. One significant breakthrough came when Jackson collaborated with a group of educators and community leaders to establish a network of vocational training centers. These centers provided individuals with the skills and knowledge needed to thrive in a rapidly changing economy, empowering them to pursue meaningful careers and contribute to their communities. The program received widespread support, with increasing numbers of participants reporting improved job prospects and enhanced quality of life. Similarly, Jackson's efforts in healthcare led to the expansion of medical facilities and the implementation of community health initiatives. Mobile clinics were established in remote areas, providing essential medical services to those who previously had limited access. Preventive care programs were launched, focusing on education and early intervention to reduce the incidence of chronic illnesses and improve overall public health. The fight against systemic discrimination also yielded positive results. Jackson worked closely with advocacy groups to draft and promote legislation that protected the rights of marginalized communities, ensuring equal opportunities in education, employment, and housing. Community outreach programs were launched to foster understanding and cooperation, breaking down the barriers that had long divided society. As months turned into years, the cumulative impact of Jackson's interventions began to reshape the socio-economic landscape. The initial signs of economic recovery were reinforced by the enduring changes brought about by educational, healthcare, and anti-discrimination reforms. Communities that had once been ravaged by poverty and despair were now thriving, buoyed by a sense of hope and empowerment. Despite the progress, Jackson remained vigilant, aware that the path to a resilient and equitable society was ongoing. He continued to monitor the timeline, making adjustments and refinements as needed to ensure that the positive changes took root and flourished. His role as a time traveler had evolved from mere intervention to that of a catalyst for sustainable development and social transformation. One day, while reviewing the latest timeline data, Jackson noticed a new anomaly, a subtle but significant shift that indicated the emergence of a powerful technological breakthrough in the early 20th century. This development had the potential to revolutionize industries and spur economic growth, but it also posed risks of misuse and unintended consequences. He immediately brought the matter to Samantha's attention. "We have a new development. A technological breakthrough that could significantly impact the timeline. It's both an opportunity and a potential risk." Samantha examined the data, her expression thoughtful. "Tell me more." Jackson explained the nature of the breakthrough, detailing its potential applications and the possible repercussions if left unchecked. If managed correctly, this technology could accelerate economic recovery and innovation. However, without proper oversight, it could lead to monopolistic practices, environmental degradation, and social inequalities. Samantha nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "We need to ensure that this technology is developed responsibly, with safeguards in place to prevent misuse and promote equitable access. It's a delicate balance, but crucial for maintaining the stability and integrity of the timeline. Jackson agreed, recognizing the importance of proactive measures. He began to devise a strategy to guide the development of the technology, working closely with inventors, policymakers, and community leaders to establish ethical guidelines and regulatory frameworks. By fostering collaboration and transparency, he aimed to harness the technology's potential while mitigating its risks. His efforts led to the establishment of early regulatory bodies that oversaw technological advancements, ensuring that innovations were aligned with societal needs and ethical standards. Educational programs were launched to inform the public about the benefits and potential pitfalls of the new technology, promoting informed decision-making and responsible usage. As the timeline continued to evolve, Jackson reflected on the profound impact of his mission. The Great Depression had served as a catalyst for change, highlighting the interconnectedness of economic, social, and technological factors in shaping the future. By addressing the root causes of societal challenges and fostering a culture of resilience and innovation, he had helped to create a foundation for sustainable progress and prosperity. Yet, he remained mindful of the ever-present challenges and the need for ongoing vigilance. Time was an intricate and dynamic force, constantly shifting and adapting to the actions and decisions of individuals and communities. Jackson understood that his role was not to dictate every outcome but to guide and support humanity as it navigated the complexities of its own destiny. One evening, after a particularly productive day of meetings and strategy sessions, Jackson found himself in the TRA's recreation area, a tranquil space designed to provide agents with a moment of respite. He sat on a comfortable sofa, gazing out at the panoramic view of the cityscape, the lights twinkling like stars against the night sky. Samantha joined him, settling beside him with a sense of quiet companionship. "You've done remarkable work, Jackson," she said softly. "The changes you've implemented have had a profound and lasting impact on the timeline." Jackson smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "It's been challenging, but seeing the progress and knowing that we're making a difference, it makes it all worthwhile." Samantha nodded, her gaze thoughtful. Time travel is not just about altering events, it's about understanding the intricate tapestry of history and finding ways to enhance the fabric of society. Your ability to navigate these complexities has been invaluable. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, each lost in their thoughts. The weight of their mission was ever present, but so was the hope that their efforts could lead to a better future. "Do you ever wonder what the ultimate goal is?" Jackson mused, breaking the silence. "Where we're all heading, in the grand scheme of things?" Samantha considered his question before responding. "I think the ultimate goal is to ensure that humanity continues to thrive, to evolve, and to overcome the challenges that threaten its existence. It's about fostering a society that values resilience, innovation, and compassion. Our role is to support that journey, to provide the guidance and resources needed to navigate the complexities of time and history." Jackson nodded thoughtfully. "It's a humbling responsibility, but also an incredible opportunity. To be a part of something so much bigger than ourselves." "Exactly," Samantha agreed. "We may not have all the answers, but our commitment to guiding the timeline in a positive direction is what matters. Every small action, every decision, contributes to the larger picture." As the days turned into years, Jackson continued his mission with unwavering dedication. He traveled to various pivotal moments in history, each mission presenting its own set of challenges and opportunities. From preventing natural disasters to fostering technological innovations, his efforts were instrumental in shaping a future that was more stable, equitable, and prosperous. One notable mission took him to the early 21st century, where emerging technologies were beginning to reshape the global landscape. Artificial intelligence and automation were advancing rapidly, promising unprecedented advancements but also posing significant risks of unemployment, privacy concerns, and ethical dilemmas. Jackson recognized the potential of these technologies to transform society, but he also understood the importance of addressing the associated challenges. He worked closely with tech innovators, policymakers, and ethicists to establish guidelines that promoted responsible development and implementation. By fostering a culture of ethical innovation, he aimed to ensure that technological advancements benefited humanity as a whole, rather than exacerbating existing inequalities or creating new forms of oppression. His efforts led to the creation of early regulatory frameworks that emphasized transparency, accountability, and ethical considerations in technological development. Educational programs were launched to inform the public about the implications of artificial intelligence and automation, promoting informed discussions and responsible usage. Through these initiatives, Jackson helped to shape a future where technology was harnessed for the greater good, driving progress while safeguarding individual rights and societal well-being. The balance between innovation and ethics became a cornerstone of the evolving timeline, fostering a society that valued both advancement and humanity. As Jackson reflected on his journey, he realized that the true essence of his mission was not just about preventing disasters or guiding progress, but about empowering humanity to take control of its own destiny. By addressing the root causes of societal challenges and fostering a culture of resilience and innovation, he had helped to create a foundation for sustainable and equitable growth. One crisp autumn morning, as he walked through the TRA's lush gardens, Jackson felt a profound sense of peace and accomplishment. The seasons had changed, bringing new life and color to the landscape, a reflection of the ongoing evolution of the timeline. Samantha joined him, her presence a steady source of support and inspiration. "You've come a long way, Jackson," she remarked, her voice filled with genuine admiration. "Your dedication and strategic thinking have made a significant impact on the timeline." Jackson smiled, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without your guidance, Samantha. Your support has been invaluable." She returned his smile, her eyes reflecting the same sense of fulfillment. "We make a great team. Time travel is a complex and challenging mission, but together, we've managed to navigate its intricacies and make meaningful contributions to the future." As they continued their walk, Jackson felt a renewed sense of purpose. The journey ahead was still filled with uncertainties and challenges, but he was confident in their ability to navigate them. The TRA's mission was a testament to humanity's resilience and capacity for growth, a beacon of hope guiding them towards a brighter future. One evening, as the sun set over the horizon, casting a warm glow across the city, Jackson found himself standing on a rooftop, gazing out at the skyline. The lights shimmered like stars, each one representing a life, a story, a moment in time. It was a humbling sight, a reminder of the immense responsibility he carried and the countless possibilities that lay ahead. He felt a tap on his shoulder and turned to see Samantha standing beside him, her silhouette outlined against the vibrant sky. "Beautiful, isn't it?" she said softly. Jackson nodded, feeling a sense of awe and gratitude. "It really is. It makes you realize just how interconnected everything is." Samantha smiled, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "Yes, it does. And it's a reminder that every action we take, every decision we make, has the potential to shape the future in profound ways." They stood in silence, watching as the day transitioned into night, the stars beginning to twinkle in the vast expanse above. The timeline stretched out before them, a complex and intricate tapestry woven from countless threads of time and history. Jackson felt a deep sense of connection to the past, present, and future, understanding that his role as a time traveler was not just about altering events, but about fostering a more resilient, equitable, and prosperous society. It was a mission that required not only strategic thinking and careful intervention but also compassion, empathy, and a profound respect for the intricate balance of time. As the first stars appeared in the night sky, Jackson turned to Samantha, his eyes filled with determination and hope. "We've made a difference, Samantha. But there's still so much more to do." She nodded, her expression resolute. "Absolutely. The timeline is always evolving, and so are the challenges we face. But with each mission, we grow stronger and more capable of guiding humanity towards a better future." Jackson took a deep breath, feeling the cool night air invigorate him. "Here's to the journey ahead, and to the future we're helping to create." Samantha raised an imaginary glass in a toast. "To the future." They stood together, gazing out at the endless possibilities that lay before them, ready to embrace the challenges and opportunities that awaited. The tapestry of time was vast and intricate, but with their combined efforts, they were confident in their ability to guide it towards a brighter, more hopeful future, and so, Jackson Hayes continued his mission, a beacon of hope and resilience in the ever-shifting currents of time. His journey was far from over, but with each step, he moved closer to ensuring that the future was not a lost cause, but a realm of endless possibilities, shaped by the actions and choices of humanity itself. As the night deepened and the stars shone brightly above, Jackson felt a profound sense of purpose and belonging. He was not just a time traveler, he was a guardian of the timeline, a catalyst for positive change, and a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity. With Samantha by his side and the support of the TRA, he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, confident in the knowledge that together, they could navigate the complexities of time and history to create a future filled with hope, resilience, and boundless potential. The end.